I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, June the 9th, 2015. Jewish organizations here in the U.S. are expressing their deep disappointment and concern at the ruling yesterday of the Supreme Court against the Jerusalem passport law. In a vote of 6-3 in Zivotofsky versus the Secretary of State, the court ruled that American citizens born in Jerusalem will continue to only have Jerusalem listed on their U.S. passport as place of birth and not Israel. The lawsuit was brought in 2003 by the parents of Menachem Zivotofsky, an American born in Jerusalem. Congress had passed the Jerusalem passport law in 2002, which calls on the U.S. State Department to change its policy of not listing Israel as the birthplace of Americans born in Jerusalem. No administration, however, has ever enforced the law so as to avoid taking sides in the Arab-Israeli conflict regarding the status of Jerusalem. 13 Jewish organizations had filed an amicus brief arguing to allow listing Israel. Among them, the Anti-Defamation League, whose national director, Abe Foxman, said after the ruling, "It is sad and unfortunate that Israel is the only country in the world whose capital comes under such scrutiny and has to defend its right to determine where its capital city exists." Also, the Conference of Presidents, whose leaders Chairman Stephen Greenberg and Executive Vice Chairman CEO Malcolm Hoenlein expressed their concern, noting the court takes the perilous step for the first time in our history of allowing the president to defy an act of Congress in the field of foreign affairs. The National Council of Jewish Women had signed the amicus brief as well. They said they were disappointed that the court has, quote, chosen to treat Zivotofsky versus Kerry as a separation of powers question. General Counsel of the American Jewish Committee, Mark D. Stern, called the ruling a tragedy. However, the AJC also noted that the court, quote, did not accept the government's position that the president had exclusive authority over foreign affairs, and that the court pointed out that the ruling should not be understood as taking any stance on sovereignty of Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the global forum of the AJC today, taking place in Washington, D.C. Speaking via video from Jerusalem, Netanyahu called for increased efforts in fighting anti-Semitism and the BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions campaign that seeks to delegitimize Israel. In the BDS battle, Netanyahu said the greatest weapon is the truth, stating, "The truth is that Israel seeks a genuine peace with our Palestinian neighbors, just as we are fending off the barbaric forces of terrorism and extremism that surround us." Delegitimization, Netanyahu said, is not about Israeli policy. It's about our right to exist here as a free people. And the Jerusalem Post reports that former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz weighed in on the BDS movement at a B'nai B'rith International ceremony honoring Israeli journalists last night in Jerusalem. He said Israel may not be perfect, but there is not a single country in the history of the world faced with threats like those faced by Israel that has ever had a better record in human rights, compliance of the rule of law, or concern for civilians. Dershowitz said that more needed to be done to prove and demonstrate that those on the side of BDS are not only on the wrong side of morality, but of the peace process. U.S. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, arrived in Israel yesterday for bilateral military talks. He'll be meeting with IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Gadi Eisenkot and Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon, among others. Speaking at a ceremony held in his honor at IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv, Dempsey told Eisenkot that Israel and the IDF have, quote, no greater friend on the face of the earth than the United States military. This is the first meeting between Dempsey and Eisenkot, who took over as Chief of Staff in February, replacing Lieutenant General Benny Gantz. Dempsey is reportedly also set to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The American Jewish Committee presented a Moral Courage Award last night during their 2015 Global Forum in Washington. They honored Lassana Bathili, who worked at the Hypercacher, the kosher supermarket in Paris that came under a deadly terror attack this past January. 4 Jews were killed in the attack. Bathili risked his own life when he took a group of 15 people into the market's cold storage room where they could hide. He was able to escape and gave the police vital information that helped end the attack. 2 other Moral Courage Awards were also given posthumously during the forum, one to Israeli Druze police officer Zidan Saif, as we told you about yesterday, and the other to Jewish volunteer security guard Dan Uzan, who was murdered while protecting a Copenhagen synagogue in February. Looking now at some entertainment news. After much speculation and rumors, it is now confirmed that New Jersey rockers Bon Jovi will perform for the first time in Israel later this year. The chart-topping, Grammy-winning band will take the stage on October the 3rd at Tel Aviv's Hayarkon Park. Tickets will go on sale to the public tomorrow. And turning now to our programming for tonight, Tuesday, June the 9th, at 8 o'clock, a discussion of the future of Jewish life in Europe from the American Jewish Committee's Strategy Conference on Combating Anti-Semitism that was held in Brussels, Belgium this last May. At 8:30, Lieutenant General Benny Gantz shares his thoughts about the Maccabiah Games and the current state of Israeli security and strategy. Then at 9 on L'chaim, Mark Golub sits down with Ehud Diskin, a 7th-generation Jerusalemite who served as an IDF commander during the Yom Kippur War. And coming up right after this newscast tonight on In the News, Israeli Ambassador Ron Prosor defends Israel at the United Nations. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, June the 9th, 2015. I'm Teisha Bader.